Welcome back into News Radio 700 WLW. I am Ken Broo. I was perusing the internets this week, and I stumbled upon this. It was on a website called MarketWatch.com. And they had something called the World Happiness Report. And in some sort of exercise, some sort of metric measuring, the WorldMarketWatch.com came up with the happiest countries in the world. The places where you could be absolutely in a life of bliss with few cares and worries that don't trouble you anymore. Do you know what the happiest country in the world is? No, it's not Latvia. Norway is the happiest country in the world, followed by Denmark, followed by Iceland, followed by Switzerland, and the good old U.S. of A. is 14th. 14th. In the land of milk and honey, we are 14th. And I'm wondering how we get to a place like 14th. Who in God's name wants to be 14th in anything? Why aren't we number one? Why aren't we more happy? You know, one of the guests I've had on in the last month and a half that has generated the most amazing amount of positive feedback is my next guest. She is a behaviorist. She is a certified personal and professional life coach, and she has authored one of the best-selling books in the history of, well, since Gutenberg put ink to type. It's called Whose Apple Is It Anyway? And anytime we can get Linda Williams on the show, it is a good day here on News Radio 700 WLW. Linda, welcome back to Cincinnati.
Wow. You know what? You are the most feel-good thing in the world. It's just something about your voice and everything. Ken, I'm honored to be back.
Oh, Linda, I'll tell you what, when they said that you were going to come on today, I was so excited. But help me with this. How did we were like 13th happiest last time. Now we're 14th. Mm-hmm. Why isn't America the happiest country in the world?
Well, we ranked high in income per capita and health life expectancy, but we're really ranking low on 4 social variables: social support, personal freedom, generosity, and perceived corruption of government and business. And I noticed that you mentioned at the top of the show, Ken, that Norway was number 1 this year. I think they knocked Denmark out of the first place. Yeah. And the answer to your question lies in the Norway example. Oh. There are 2 things that keeps Norway consistently at the top of this list. Number 1, they're proactive. Okay. So we know they've got oil and everything, but what they do is they proactively insulate themselves from the booms and busts and cycles of resource-rich economies. Oh. The second thing is that they're values-driven. Values-driven. They require high levels of mutual trust. They require shared purpose, generosity, and good government. All of the things that the U.S. is missing.
So this is good because this is what you and I spent part of our time visiting about the last time you were on. Values-driven. Now, you mentioned that the United States ranks well in terms of income and in terms of personal health, but money obviously doesn't buy happiness, and just because you're healthy does not mean that you're happy. So I don't want to move to Scandinavia. I mean, I'm sure Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Switzerland, I'm sure they're lovely places, and I have Scandinavian blood in me, but I don't want to go over there. So what do I do now when I'm sitting in a country that's 14th? How do I make this not only better for me, but for my fellow citizens? What do I do?
Okay, let's go back to the report for that, Ken. They've added a section called subjective well-being to their evaluations, okay? Now, subjective well-being has 3 parts. That's your life evaluation as an individual. That's reflective. That's a reflective assessment of your life or an aspect of your life. The second one is affect. A person's feelings or emotional state in reference to a particular point in time, and something called eudaimonia, and that's simply a sense of meaning and purpose in life, or a good psychological functioning. So we talked before about the cures and the cause. Mm-hmm. So now that we've looked at those three areas, this is what I'm going to suggest for people. And Ken, quickly, this goes to everything that's happened on the political front here. Everybody's in a disarray. They're trying to get their equilibrium. These are the four things I'm going to suggest to your listeners.
Okay.
1, focus of control. What is out of your control and what is within your control? 2, start with what's within your control and decide how you might contribute to a solution. 3, be values-driven. Failure to do so will lead to burnout. And 4, which is most important to hold this formula together, is stay in your lane. Not everybody's a politician, a lawyer, an activist, and not everybody's suited for the picket line. So contribute your own unique talent and abilities to support social action that can make a difference.
You know, Linda, I'm a religious man. I go to church, and one of the prayers that I pray every time I go to church is, Lord, give me the power to let go of what I can't control and give me the courage to control what I can. And it's something that I think as human beings we struggle with. And of everything you just listed there, I think it's so very difficult for us to let go of what we can't control because we sense a feeling of helplessness if we do that.
Yes. That's so well, man, you're right on point, Ken. And I want to just point out that, you know, it takes us as human beings to go through a lot in our personal lives to come to the point where we have to recognize what we can control and what we can't. But to the extent that you control and take power and empowerment over your individual sphere of control, and that excludes everything and everybody but you, then you are more powerful in influencing the things that you cannot control.
So it's a sense, if I'm hearing you right, it's a sense of self-empowerment when you just say, okay, I'm just not going to worry about that. It's not going to define my life because if I do, it wins, I lose. So it's really a sense of increasing your sense of self-empowerment.
Yeah, and that's step 1, what you said. Yeah. Okay. Step 2 is, how can you use your natural purpose and bent, the things you do so easily and so well without breathing, toward effecting a change in those areas? So while you have to recognize what you can't control, and for your own mental health, I'm going to give you that. Okay. Figure out, okay, I can't worry about that. Yeah. Then what is it that you do have to control to bettering your own life, the life of your family, or influencing the external environment around you?
We have Linda Williams back with us. She is a certified personal and professional life coach. She is the author of Whose Apple Is It Anyway? And you know, after you were on the last time, I had so much great feedback, Linda. One of the things I think that we struggle with is what is our purpose? What is our lane that we have to stay in? How do we keep our car in that lane? How do we navigate down that road? And oftentimes, it's not anything that really is something that's occupationally driven. It's sometimes right. it's not even parentially driven. It could be something completely out of that purview. It might be something that is a charitable, that our purpose here is for something charitable. It might be to save another life. How does one go about identifying that? Because I'm sure we're not going to solve everybody's problem here in those 10 minutes or so we spend with each other. What's the next step in trying to figure out what your purpose is here?
I think you summed it up right there, Ken. Let's move trying to figure out our purpose from the external. Mm-hmm. I want to be like them. I want to do this, yada, yada. Answer this one question. What do I do with excellence as easily as breathing? What do I do with excellence as easily as breathing? Your natural bent. I'm a born-again Christian, so I believe in God. And I believe everybody came here with that inside them. It's indigenous. It's part of who you truly are, and you can't escape it. And if you focus with purpose on that thing that's in you, the thing that you know that you feel driven about, it could be a talent, it could be an ability, it could be a natural ability to encourage. You focus on that, and you are plugged in to the reason you're here and making a difference in the world around you, in the middle of chaos.
You know, Linda, I'm sure like you watch what's going on in our country today and just how divided we are as a people, and we spend most of our time searching for common ground. I just did one of those programs that all companies have, where you get all the employees together, you try to find common ground, you make sure everybody knows that we're all in this poem, and all of those functions and those drills are okay. I think they all serve a purpose. But I look at what's going on, particularly with the people that we send to Washington to try and fix our problems, and they never seem to get the job done, regardless of what party it is, who's in the White House or whatever. There always seems to be people working at cross purposes. And we saw it again this week. And I'm looking at that, and I'm listening to you, and why is that so painfully evident to you and me, and to them it's just painfully inevident? Why? Why is it that way? Have you figured that one out?
Ideology and coming to the negotiation table, Ken, with us an established position. So I come to the table, this is what I want to happen, and this is the way it's got to occur in order for what I want to happen. Instead of digging into the interest, what drives you to that decision? What drives you to thinking it has to be rectified like this? So we got to quit coming to the negotiation table with a position, because you're in an automatic adversarial position when you come to the table with a rigid decision about how something has to be rectified. Everybody needs to meet the common ground of the interest that's driving the position, and if you start from there, you get win-win all the way around.
Ideology will get you in trouble all the time because it makes you talk and it doesn't make you listen. It's interesting. I have a really good friend, and about 2-3 years ago, he was going through a real crisis in his marriage, and it was headed toward divorce. And I said, well, what's the problem? And so he began describing about how inside the marriage they'd grown apart and all this and that. I said, well, do you listen to each other anymore? Can you find what brought you together in the first place? I mean, what's that like? And it boiled down to this, is that they were both so stuck, and the marriage didn't work out, unfortunately, because it was too late in the process to fix it, I think. But they were so dug in the way that they believed and what they thought, that they forgot that in a partnership of any kind, you gotta be able to bend a little bit and understand how the world is through somebody else's eyes. And I think if we did more of that in our personal lives, and we did more of that or saw more of that in Washington, D.C., I think we'd have it all over. Norway, we'd be number one.
Yeah, let's lay it out like this before we get off the phone. This is the bottom line to everybody that's listening. We go through all of these art of listening classes, communication classes, okay? And they're talking about listen. There's a piece missing here. You have got to hear somebody in order to truly listen to them. You have got to hear them. And sometimes that means coming down off your high tower of your whatever issues you're carrying around personally, and be able to really hear that person where they're coming from. You got to come out of your viewpoint, like you said, long enough to actually hear the heart in the message, and that will take you to the story behind and in between the lines. And once you really hear somebody, then now we're on a communication level that'll make a difference.
Yeah, honestly, I've heard some women on their high horse, but I think it's my gender that violates that most often. I'm sorry, I think it's a man thing, Linda.
It's a human condition, my friend.
I know.
And I'm just going to rectify this. We women can go there too, all right? So,
hey,
you got it on the head.
Let me tell you something. I just love the hell out of you coming on with me, and we'll visit again down the road. Again, Linda, give them your website. Where can they find you? Because I didn't do that well enough last time, and people were yelling at me. It's whosapple.org, right?
There you go, WHOSEAPPLE.org, or you can just Google Linda F. Williams. You'll find me.
Right, at Who's Apple. You can follow Linda on Twitter. All right, my friend, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Been my pleasure, my friend.
I love that lady. She just gets it real. Linda Williams. Honestly, I don't understand why dysfunction happens in anything, be it on the job, in your home, in politics. Because I think the one thing, and the thing that I think would cascade us from 20, whatever we are, 14 in this thing, to number one, just listen. Because everybody doesn't see the world as you see it, and everybody doesn't see the same situation the same way. You know why? Because we all come to that point from different roads, different pathways. We all came from the same pathway, number one, it'd be congested. We'd never get there. And number two, it'd be kind of boring. Linda Williams. I love that lady. We'll continue next on News Radio 700 WLW.